I have been doing my research, alright? Everyone in Kazimierz is basically based on Poland, so all of the names, including these two guys, are actually Polish. So his name is not pronounced Mlynar, his name is pronounced more like mlynar.
Młynar.
And her name here, this lawyer, is
Deszcz.
which means rain. So yeah, village outside. Okay, how do you pronounce that?
Dzwonek.
Zvolnek? Okay, how do I pronounce that?
Sprawiedliwi.
What? I'm sorry. If you're Polish and you're watching this, I'm not making fun of your language, alright? I'm trying my best here. Please. Okay, let's proceed to the next one then. November 30th, 8 p.m. Zonek. The Leithanien had high praise for our city's prosperity, and the parties quick reached an agreement. It is expected that the regular trade will be established between Zonek and the Leithanien city of Grofil. A Leithanien-inspired commercial district is also currently under construction on a new plate, the first phase of the project focusing on Leithanien art and music. A spokesman for contractor Gill Industries started the design of the new district, the brainchild of a world-famous architect, and promised that it will become a new landmark for Kazimierz. The project is expected to be a massive boon for the city's tourism industry. Oops, got this one a little thin. Honey, why don't you put that away? It's time to pick up our boy from the school. Can he get home on his own? I know, he says you're nosy, but he doesn't mean it. Nosy, huh? He's got a noble knight picking it up personally. You ungrateful brat. I was having so much fun playing with those peasants. Just be patient, dear. You said it yourself. People will forget all about plastics unique before long, and then we'll be safe. Next up, new infected riots have been reported in the old district. The National Council is currently investigating the incidents. The police have acknowledged that Zeno Shelfin, the infected ringleader who had previously turned himself in, has escaped custody. A number of officers have been suspended in connection with the escape. A reward is being offered for information regarding... You heard the news, right? You should go soon. We came all the way to Vonek, even living among the common folks. But it looks like the trouble is never far away. To think I used to be worried about you getting hurt in the arena. And now I'm worried about our little boy making it home from school. You're overreacting. The press loves to exaggerate these things. If they were a real threat, we wouldn't be hearing about the public investigations or a national council. The only problem is the incompetent police who don't know how to track down the infected without ID numbers. On their own, they're not much of a... Of course, the infected make a good excuse to sell people insurance and protective gear, especially after what happened at the Major. Well, if it's so safe, why are you going out in full armor? Alright, fine. Then I won't worry, Sir Knight. I like his wife. This statue marks the edge of the central district. The outer plates are old, and there isn't much to see there. May I inquire as the containers stack up over there? Ah, that's just an abandoned district. There used to be a cargo passage leading down to the lower levels. After it was closed, all containers from the commission trucks began to pile up. Of course, we're currently working hard at giving Zonek a facelift. Abandoned districts like this are slated to be rebuilt very soon, and you won't see any tracks of them by the next time you're here. Is that so? I really like how the colorful containers come together to form part of the cityscape. Is that so? I suppose Leithanien do have an eye for art. You flatter me. It's getting rather late though. I shan't keep you. It's no problem at all. It's been my pleasure to show you our city's nightscape. But you also have the ribbon-cutting ceremony to attend tomorrow. Perhaps we should return to the hotel. Incidentally, if you enjoy music, I also have a few best-selling albums of Zonek here. Would you like to have a listen to them in your room? Ah, that's very kind of you. But I've already picked the pieces I wish to enjoy tonight. I hope I'm causing no offense? No, of course not. Then I will take my leave here. Good night, and we will be back to pick you up tomorrow. I've asked around, sir. I have to actually keep doing this whenever there's like someone with a mask speaking. So, I've asked around, sir. But are you really sure you want to go at this hour? Are we being watched? Not right now, as far as I can tell. Then let's. I prefer to end this trip on a high note. How do you feel? How do you think I feel? Does my leg look like it's getting better? This was from a legit pharmacy, and it cost a pretty penny. It's not working? Wouldn't be the first time stuff down legit sources didn't work. What happens to the plan if you can't walk? Shh. Someone's coming. May I help you, sir? We have nothing to do with any attacks, and we don't know that man you're with. The cops have been here a few times already. Everyone check out clean. I'm looking for the Weaver. Oh, you're friends with them? Go around behind that dark red container. You'll find an empty tailor shop with a hidden door in the back, leading to a long alley. Ask around when you reach their warehouse. Not even a word of thanks. What you expect from a noble? Back to the plan. You got words from the boss? Yeah, it's urgent, and it's happening tonight. Getting cold feet? A little. But it's like fighting gum pincers. There's no turning back. It'll be worth it, even if it's just to make the people in the high places sweat a little. I heard they're finally cleaning up that junk across the street and expanding the commercial district towards the east. Finally. Yeah, they should have blown it up ages ago. We got kids from nearby schools playing hide and seek in it, and that's an accident waiting to happen. Who knows how filthy it is on all those containers and shacks? Homeless, infected. Seriously, why do they even want to live in slums like that? Life would be so much better if they left for one of the villages in the Barren Lands. The light screen. Let's go. Whoa. A loud noise, and the gray skies of the abandoned district are lit up by flames. What was that? Something explode? Run! Why are you just standing there like that? Get out of the way! Did I hear you say that kids from nearby school plays in an abandoned district? Aloysia! Are you okay, sir? I'm sorry, I didn't realize... Don't blame yourself. I'm not hurt. And I was the one who insisted on coming to the slums. But it looks like there's a wall of rubble between us. I'll find another path and meet up with you, sir. The explosion was rather near our position, however. Please be careful, as this could potentially be a targeted attack. Alright, I'll wait here. I hear voices. It hurts! Ow! Come on, get this shit of metal out of him! He's bleeding! I'm trying! It's so dark! I can't see! What if I make a mistake and open up the wound? Even if people are watching, I should be able to use Originium arts to move some of the stones and metal for them without drawing attention. Was this really targeted at me though? My visit to the abandoned district wasn't out of the itinerary. Now Alicia would have noticed if someone was tailing me. It's dark. I wanna go home. You're not gonna leave me, right? Hold on, let's grab a rock. Hey, is someone coming? A businessman? Government official? No, it's the man I encountered beneath the statue yesterday, with an infected by his side. He deeply prejudiced against Leithanien, and infected with him doesn't exactly seem like the amicable sort. I should stay out of sight. Did you see an infected with a white scar on his arm? I don't care who you are. We're not scared of you. What's going on here? Could you help our friend get out? He's like got caught up in a sharp piece of metal, and it bleeds if he tries to move. Did he just glance at me? If only I had my tools. If this was one of our workers, would have just dragged him out. I don't have any better ideas. Wah! It's bleeding! The wound looks scary! Don't cry, I'll tie it up with some clothes. And don't worry, my dad used to get hurt all the time. He says a couple of days is all it takes to get better. Just a flesh wound.
Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look! It's just a flesh wound.
Get it treated at a hospital. Alright, come on, take my shoulder. Leithanien. How long do you plan on watching from there? This abandoned district is even worse than infected district in the Grand Knight territory. When I catch that brat, he is getting a stern lesson on where it is and it's not appropriate for a noble to visit. Damn it, where did he go? Hey, did you see any kids playing around here? Who's a kid? It's such a big place. I can possibly remember the face of every kid. Then cut the crap. Why are you trying to run? There's nowhere else for you people to go in the city anyway. Look, I'll pay you to go back and rescue any children you see. And if you run into anyone else, you can tell them too. Who are you? This isn't some kind of sick joke, is it? Here's the cash. You can choose whether you want it or not. This is... yes sir. Whatever you say, sir. Sending people into a fire, eh? Must be nice having money to burn. Mr. Plastic Stress Chick. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't worry, I know a lot of things, and you're not one of the important ones. If you're not here to help, then don't waste my time. Let me put it this way. Obsolete goods like you are worth less than nothing. It takes a bigger target to start this fire. What do you mean? Who caused the explosion? Who dares harm my son? No need to shout. You don't scare me. But I do enjoy watching rich folks like you flee for your lives, losing whatever you hold dearest. If you think you can get under my nerves with this crap, then you're wasting your time and mine. Look, that billboard is about to fall. How many evacuees will it kill? And will your son be among them? Wanna bet? An arrow whistles past him before he can finish that sentence. 0. And no. The billboard is now pinned to a wall by the arrow. Now, let's talk business. I could use a guy who knows the lay of the land here. You want to go in yourself? I'm finding my son and getting him out of there. Now get moving, unless you like to be pinned to a wall too. I like this guy. He looks tough, but he has a heart of gold. I must warn you that any threat made upon my life will result in a diplomatic incident between Kazimierz and Leithanien. Diplomatic incident? You better explain why you're here first. Since when were our slums considered a tourist attraction? I don't recall threatening you either. All I did was tell you to come with us. You're hostile towards me, towards Leithanien. Do you really think your deceitful words and suspicious activities truly represent all of Leithanien? Perhaps we misunderstood each other. Someone else is responsible for the explosion. But I will not let my guard down against you. My hand is on my wand. Suit yourself. Sir, someone's calling for help over there. Can you hear it? Should we help or... Well, actually, I was wondering. Aren't you afraid of being arrested for being with me like this? There's no reason for them to do that. And you're not worried about getting infected? Let's go. If you're here to help these people, I'm more than willing to demonstrate my good faith. Of standing around and doing nothing? I regret not using my Originium arts to aid the child, out of concern for my own safety. Visitors from Leithanien, why did you come here? Please don't doubt my good faith. To be honest, I came here because I envy the cities of Kazimierz. The modern Kazimierz? Yes, where nobles, entrepreneurs, and commoners can all walk on the same streets without anyone having to give way to one another. Where the goods in the shops are made for everyone, whether they can use Originium arts or not, whether they appreciate music or not. Here, people can pursue any lifestyle they want, as long as they have money, and there's plenty of opportunity to do that. I only wish the people in my fief had the same energy, and that more of them could live better lives. Opportunity? A better life? Don't tell me someone of your position and experience could be blinded by superficial appearances. Of course, I understand that I'm only being shown the best side. I've seen more than enough gold and jewels in the brief time that I've been here. Which is exactly why I wanted to come to where the poor live, to see the people whom your rules have cast aside. Thus, I will learn from them and improve upon the system. No, I don't want to die! I can't walk yet. Please. A secondary explosion. It must be due to the high temperatures. It's dangerous here. Are we really going to look for the person you mentioned? What if they already fled? I can't have you getting hurt helping me. I have my own business here. If you truly are acting in good faith, Leithanien, you'll open a path here. There may yet be hope if we head there immediately. The voice came from behind the wall. The door's warped. I'll try to clear away with my arts. It'll take some time though. Go ahead. If I'd meant to harm you, I would have done so by now. Very well. The fire's spreading. I was caught in a fire once, many years ago. Someone tried to set the counts toward the blaze, the day the Witch King's flight faded from Leithanien. Wait! What? You have a Witch King in Leithanien? Leithanien must be like under the Sauron's influence or something. The arsonist was never found. Perhaps many who has been slave to fear through kindling upon the flames all at once, the moment they could breathe again. Fire itself didn't cause too much damage. My father's casters quickly brought it under control. Braziers could be replaced, as could servants. But I couldn't help but think that the fact that I continue to live in comfort and luxury is perhaps the reason they lit that fire. And what of you? Who do you stand in the flames with no fear on your face? Even if you deny it, you look like one who has seen the burning fires of war up close. Done. The voice becomes increasingly discernible as the dust clears. The faint light of Reginum Arts illuminates a room that looks like it has been turned over. Furniture is scattered across the ground, and any signs of life are long gone from the body buried beneath the rubble. The only sound comes from a radio on the ground. Here are the assignments for squads around Zonek for the new equipment tests. Intel obtained from the captured Leithanien spy indicates that Leithanien has developed multiple arts units designated to penetrate Casimir's knight's armor. In preparation for the war with Leithanien, a hand snatches up the radio and smashes it on the ground. The Leithanien noble grows pale as he processes what he just heard. Zonek, an important military outpost, still has the bones of sentry towers and turrets hidden in the corners. This was what he told the Casimir's knight standing before him the day before. The great steel eye remained focused on Leithanien. On him. I didn't hear anything. I don't know. His eyes land on the caster rapidly approaching his counterpart from behind. Aloysia! Kill him!
Yes, sir.
We'll be trapped by the fire if you don't turn back. You've rescued everyone who could be rescued along the way. Doesn't look like anyone else is breathing down here. Neither of us found what we were looking for, but one less piece of intel doesn't make a huge difference. As for you, I'm sure you have dozens of sons waiting for you on the main streets by now. Someone's fighting? Here? Let go of my one, infected! No. You better be prepared to get infected blood on you if you want to harm my savior. Out of the way, Zeno. Huh? An arrow whistles past the young infected's cheek, just as he is pushed away. Blasted infected! I remember your face! You're the culprit behind the riots! And you, mlynar, I knew someone was backing them. What are you plotting? What are you doing here? House Neural just can't help but side with the infected, can it? Who are you to question House Neural? Why are you dragging us into trouble? This far away from the Grand Knight territory. Let's go, Alicia. You let the Leithanien get away. Answer me! What are you planning? Where's my son? Enough! Do you really believe the press reports? Don't tell me you're still as foolish as the day you first lost in that ridiculous competition and drowned yourself in wine. I saw a boy with purple hair. If he has the slightest sense of responsibility, he'll have accompanied his friend to the hospital. Alright, I believe you for now. There will be hell to pay if it's not there. And you, Weaver. Oh, you're looking for them? We want to talk to the bounty hunters. Now. This should be far enough. He didn't come after us. He must have been delayed. How are your injuries, Alicia? Just a scratch I took on the counter. You won't be doing anything so dangerous when we're back in Leithanien. You'll have plenty of time to recover. Yes, sir. I apologize. Anybody watching us? No, sir. The reporters at the exit to the street are busy interviewing someone. They won't be paying attention. Then let's go. We must leave Kazimier's now. What about tomorrow's ceremony? It's a shame. You saved the lives of 22 children. What is your name and occupation? Are you an experienced rescuer? How many of the children do you know? What made you decide to help so many people whom you've never met? Where did you find them? We saw an injured child being sent to hospital. What did you feel as you rescued him? Out of the way. I need to find my son. Your outfit is similar to the so-called Plastic Knight, who hasn't been seen for a while. Are you a fan of his? Did he inspire you to this valorous deed? Plastic armor is good enough. I'm an archer, and I don't let the opponent get near me. It may have been fun in games, but it's also true that nobody's come close to matching me. And think about it. There'll be no ads printed on this armor. When I'm interviewed as the winner, I'll let the world know I made it myself. There'll be a slap in the face for those big companies for taking away our livelihoods with inferior mass-produced goods. Don't cry. I'll be fine. I'll yield if things aren't looking good. And I'll be back with you safe and sound. It's too late for an interview. Like I said, I'm picking up my son. Our informant was unfortunately lost in the accident, just as planned. No other casualties. Target has returned to his hotel, accompanied by his bodyguard. That's unfortunate. It would have given us an edge at the negotiation table if he'd gone off on his own and gotten into an accident at the abandoned district. But impromptu plans rarely go smoothly. What about Neryl? Unknown. He must have left with someone familiar with the secret passages. Also, a letter just arrived. At this hour? Yes, sir. For your eyes only. From the bounty hunters. Alright, back to your station. You know I keep my promise, Tolan. A certain someone says he recently dreamed of us. Come on, you must be so worried that you can't sleep. I know what you're planning, Czibor, and I suggest you think twice. You were always the calmest and most rational of us. I didn't use force or cause any trouble. All that happened is that someone sent us records of Gale Industries and your nightclub working with each other. As if there were another way. A man who did not wish to be named rescued more than 20 children from the fire in the abandoned district. Although he declined to talk about his experience and avoided cameras, witnesses report that his cloak was covered in ashes. You were really cool, Dad! Now you think so? I want to be a knight too! No. Why not? I want to be able to save people, just like you! That's not how it happened. You always spend the whole day at home working on this stuff. Why not make me a suit of plastic armor too? Mom said we didn't used to have so much money. You used to make up your own equipment because you had no sponsors. She told you all that? Never mind. Starting tomorrow, you don't need to go to school. In fact, you're not allowed to go out at all until I say it's okay. Huh? But I need to visit my friend at the hospital. No. Haven't you learned your lesson? You want to sleep in the hospital bed too? I'm not scared. Knights aren't scared of things like that. Like I said, forget about becoming a knight. Knights can protect people like you think. The bigger the dream, the bigger the disappointment. Now get to bed. Actually, I like that part of the story. Alright then, let's just go ahead and continue with Tolan. Dad's letters are always the same thing. All stiff and serious. You still want me to read it? It is the way of the knight to protect the poor and distraught, but one should be careful with one's companions. Do not let those whom you are tasked to protect suffer with you, nor should you obsess yourself with reforming the wicked and gathering the weak. There, he scolded you. Satisfied? He doesn't think what we're doing is wrong, just futile. To save the crops, you must first plow the soil. November 30th, 11:20 p.m. Village outside. Okay, how do you pronounce that?
Dzwonek.
Zwolnek?
Dzwonek.
So their W was read as V, so Zwonek. Alright then. Sure, like a lot of people might think that's not a big deal, but you know, I'm trying to respect the lore here. I'm new here in this game, so I should at least like show my manners, right? This humble village sure has been busy past few days. What with all the knight captains and nobles gracing us with their presence? Isn't that so, Sir mlynar? Give the infected a place to stay. He's accused of instigating the riots. Is this the safe place that you told me about? You're handing me over to bounty hunters? Don't worry, you're not carrying enough cash to be worth robbing. So, if our good knight brought you here, that must mean you must know something. Do you have family? Do you need to send them a message or tell them to flee? Here, pen and paper. As for you, mlynar, I guess you carry that sword around just to annoy folks in the Grand Knight territory, huh? Since apparently you don't even need your weapon outside of the city. You've got a long line of people queuing up to claim your head in this place alone. Have you gotten so cocky that you thought you could take them all out with just a tree branch? Then why aren't they doing anything? I'm standing right here. But I entrusted my sword to the campaign knights for maintenance. I'm here for a grave matter, Tolan. I know, I'm kidding. Sheesh. You're picking up your weapon tomorrow, right? Would have been so sad over here if you'd forgotten all about us. After all, there is no guarantee you'll be coming back from your meeting with him. Hey, don't give me that look. And don't tell me you don't suspect anything either. Why else would you be coming to me about a grave matter at this hour? What do you know? Just some educated guesses, but probably not far off from what you're thinking. Why don't we give the poor man some space, though? Let him ride home in peace and quiet. The night is deep, but the lights at the River Valley factories just keep on shining. The former manor of House Palasnikos. Okay, how do you pronounce that?
Paleniskos.
Okay, just normal. Paleniskos. The night is deep, but the lights of the River Valley factories just keep on shining. The former manor of House Paleniskos. Bring back memories, doesn't it? Pardon me. I saw smoke and thought there might be a fire. Did I disturb you, sir? Nothing to worry about. I just threw a few notebooks in there. I suppose burned leather doesn't smell too nice.
Good to hear it was nothing serious. Also, the Craftsman Guild is asking about the sword.
Leave it for now. It's a shame, but the owner probably won't be back to pick it up for a while.
Yes, sir. All the preparations are ready for the ceremony tomorrow.
Have a seat while you're here. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the operation.
Yes, sir. But I'm just a junior knight. I'm not sure how useful my input could possibly be.
Don't worry. I was just a junior knight when the previous captain ordered me to infiltrate Leithanien. You've seen and done the most in this operation so far. Your thoughts mean more than anyone else's. Besides, you're the Knight Primus of House Marek. You're no longer an ordinary knight. Oh, so this guy is the one who signed that letter for the land that is like in that lawyer girl's storyline. Okay, everything seems to start to come together. Nice.
Thank you. House Marek prides itself on nurturing true warriors. To my shame, I have yet to have the chance to bring glory to my family crest. Forgive me if I'm intruding, but what about you, sir? We've never heard you talk about it.
True. It's something that knights would normally bring up, but the name of the house I serve has not been spoken of in years.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have asked.
No worries, we're just having a chat. I used to live around here. When I was a child, Zonek roamed the borders, fighting off against the cities of Leithanien. Great shadows moved across the wilds when the sun was out. Children who would later become knights used to pretend they were the great heroes of history, arguing over whose wooden spear found the other first. That is what brings me nostalgia.
Were the knights of the house killed in battle?
No, they committed treason.
Oh.
I was the young son of a retainer, without a status or position. When the family's collusion with Leithanien was discovered, its title was revoked by the Adeptus. Okay, how do I pronounce that?
Sprawiedliwi.
What?
Sprawiedliwi.
Can you slow down? Its title was revoked by the Adeptus Sprawiedliwi Kazimierz. I cannot say that with straight face. I'm sorry. If you're Polish and you're watching this, I'm not making fun of your language, alright? I'm trying my best here. Please.
Wait, do you mean the legend of the Tenebrous Knight? The ringleader of the traitors? House Niskos had gathered a dozen highly ranked campaign knights, but they were assassinated on the night they planned to carry out their plot. But surely the stories are exaggerated. How could anyone defeat so many knights on their own, not to mention the casters from Leithanien? The Tenebrous Knight. I begged the young wanderer who barked into the banquet to show mercy, but no one who was party to the plot was spared. I suppose the whole scandal is no longer taboo, now that the dust has settled. The old captain didn't approve when I was first elected captain, remember? That was because he knew I wasn't willing to give up my life to defend my house's schemes. Instead, I asked for help in trying to stop them. As he put it, putting justice above loyalty was a fatal flaw for a campaign knight. So, what do you think? I only know about the incident from what you guys told me. When the kid brought his friends, the boys were murdering that the noble brat had a trick or two up his sleeves. We even made a bet. If the rumors that you foiled the Leithanien plot were true, then how about the rumors that the second son of House Nerl was expelled from his house by the war hero Kirill because of gambling debts? Oh, don't get me wrong. We also bet when Czibor would finally put together a flower crown for his Kuranta redhead. Or when you fix that bad habit of always seeing the best in people. What kind of person he used to be doesn't matter. If the contract you obtain is true, then his plot has cost the lives of countless innocents. It's from that little lawyer lady from the Grand Knight territory. Probably legit. To tell the truth, her handing over the documents on her own was an unexpected stroke of luck. We were planning to spook her a little bit to get the evidence, and you almost threw a wrench into things. As for the documents themselves, I don't think anyone realized their importance. According to the sender, she was probably just playing a little legal prank. Just like how we only stopped by because we got a request for help from the village of Tuerza. But Czibor was really interested in it, even going as far as to use the investigation as an excuse to take bounty hunters into custody, just to stop me from questioning her. Which means that contract, signed by Marek Jr., has nothing to do with his house. It's all the nightclub behind him. And Gale Industries recruited the infected as requested, manipulating the media to publicize the attack. The infected riots are a result of their machinations. Man, I thought I was close enough to the kid that he'd at least come talk to me first. After all, my buddies definitely have surer hands than those infected he found. Do you think those businessmen ever stop to think about what the campaign knights would have to gain when they're advertising their affiliates? This is more about than just causing a panic. They're trying to recreate how the Silverlands Pegasi entered the Grand Knight territory not too long ago. A simple show of force is of no value. And given Zonek tradition, the campaign knights don't even have to go so far to find an excuse to enter the city. Yeah, he wouldn't need to take your sword just for something like that. But he did talk about wanting to take revenge for Selena. I don't owe him an explanation. Sure, and you're not the only one he's aiming at. But I think there is a reason he set a particular time to return it. There is a ribbon-cutting ceremony tomorrow. Great minds think alike. Either everything will be over by then, and this keeps you out of it, or that's when it begins, and he wants you there for whatever reason. Worst case scenario, it's both. Like making you watch the Leithanien delegate die right in front of the sculpture representing peace between the two nations. Enough! He shouldn't be doing this. Wait, where are you going? He shouldn't let these things to get to his head, nor should he resort to these underhanded means. I'll talk to him. Sorry, I suppose that was a difficult question. I only thought that if the target happened to show up in the slums tonight, perhaps out of the naive logic we've heard from him, I believe that people still capable into such ideals should not die, even if they are often the first to fall into the maws of fate. So, why did you sign up for this operation? Everyone in the nightclub is of one mind about this. We agree that it's time for those who are dreaming away in the safe cocoons of the cities to wake up and face the reality of our struggles and the impending threat. Leithanien's ambitions are obvious. Their war preparation have never halted. We should not remain idle when they're preparing to tear away the facade of peace. Even if this incident doesn't reignite the flames of war between Kazimierz and Leithanien, the people will remember this time of turmoil. Oh, I see what's going on here. They'll understand who it is that truly protects them. Ah, that's what I said in my rallying speech, wasn't it? Sorry, but we all think the same way. If I have to come up with something else, the battlefield is the only place knights can truly find glory. We're an unremarkable nightclub stationed at the outskirts, with neither military exploits nor a venerable tradition to call our own. Most of us come from the branches or retainers of the great houses, without the prestigious bloodlines needed to make it into the great nightclubs. But as long as we got the chance to set foot on the battlefield, I know we will prove our mettle. We will not allow mere merchants to sell our victory, nor will we cower before the enemy's guns. If only all of Kazimierz shared our conviction. Yeah, they're basically extremists. Don't say that. It is our job as knights to go to war. Let them be weak or fearful. We fight so that they don't have to, and in so convince them to put faith in us. Is the wind blowing the smoke into your eyes? Perhaps you should move over here, sir. I'm fine. Is that Captain Selena's diary you're burning? Yes, I've read it enough times to have it memorized. But many of its records are no longer relevant. I wanted to dispose of it, lest it become our shackles in the future. You're right. We still miss her. You know, of course, how that conflict between the nobles disillusioned us with the Adeptus Spraleli Kazimierz. Hard to believe that we lost her to what began as a property dispute in a small village. No, it was no complicated political conflict. Of course, I won't forget those responsible for her death either.
They simply found an opportunity to exact revenge on us after many years of waiting. We take off a lot of people in high places before we join the campaign knights. They took her life as a warning to me. Sorry, I didn't mean to pry. No, it was never something that should be left unsaid. We wanted to help those struggling to make ends meet under crippling taxes, those who lost their homes to the GCC's bulldozers. It's only human to feel sympathy for them. We've done nothing to be ashamed of. It was the nobles and the merchants who colluded with the media to keep the silence, covering up their crimes. It was a silence that should not exist, at least not among knights. No knight should ever bow down to wealth and power, but there is no shame in kneeling before suffering. I'll try to keep that in mind, sir, if I get the chance. It's easier said than done, given the current state of Casimir's. Most who pursue their ideals here find themselves walking not on white roads and flat terrain, but rather stumbling along the edge of a cliff. Those who throw themselves bravely into the abyss don't even make a sound. That's why I'm trying to bring the thunder of war to this land and carve out a path amidst despair. Okay, dude, you have a point, but you're being an asshole about it. Oh boy, you're going to find him. Where? The campaign night camp? Where else? I wrote to him, you know. Anything there is to say, I already did. I don't know if we can still convince him to turn back. Sitting around and watching this unfold is not an option, Tolan. I can stand idly while he puts all his hopes on war. That's akin to admitting failure. Disillusionment leads to extreme solutions. It's because we understand that we're angry. Not at him, though. At the Casimirs that's driven us all to desperation. But even if you wanted to pit yourself against the entire nightclub, and had the ability to do so, that's why he took your sword. There's nothing stopping me from trying to dissuade him. Why do you think the hunters were so willing to follow you back then? You don't have to make enemies of the campaign knights. And you don't have to be so reckless. I know what you're concerned about, of course. It's certainly harder for us to make a move when our brothers are still in their hands. And we could hardly expect go head-to-head with campaign knights. But it's sad enough for Czibor to have gone rogue on us. Can you at least give me the hope that not all knights are like that? I didn't like how my father saw things. Who decides who is the farmer and who are the crops? Who decided they could push crops into the earth to make it more fertile? No, I won't write this in the letter. A knight should not question endlessly, not without finding an answer into which he can place his trust. But I'll always remember the questions. I mean, I won't stop you if you still want to go have a chat with him. I'll just sit here lamenting how friendships change. But really think about it. Boss, what is it? The Leithanien noble is heading out quietly with his bodyguard. Now? They want to flee Casimirs at this juncture. Foolish. They will not elude the campaign knights. Looks like we're running out of time to talk this out. I came to meet with a few new business partners. I ought to give them a heads up before defecation encounters ventilations. What kind of language was that? Defecation encounters ventilation? Those people at Reddit was right. Hypergriff seems to have their own language. It won't do to get them killed in this mess. I have a grave matter to talk about, Tolan. Protect the Leithanien. Deal. Any way we choose, as long as we can delay the campaign knights, right? Then we do this my way, as usual. What about you? I'm going to find Czibor. Ha! You've never turned your back on anything that you felt was right. Never mind putting it on a scale. Alright, one last question then. You're not expecting this to end peacefully, are you?
The night wind is chilling, and the only sound in the darkness is the rushing river. The factories stand quietly in the river valley, their massive steel hoods illuminated by their lights. People still believe they can bring back the sunset at a time when blood and fire had warmth, when there was a long path ahead of them. Now, though, there is no time to reminisce. No time for nostalgia or anger at all that has changed. Mlynar extends his hand. Give me a sword.
Affirmative. Target is on the expressway towards the city exit.
We couldn't even wait until tomorrow's ceremony, knowing full well that a diplomatic incident will ensue.
Should we take control of the gates and stop the target from leaving?
Is anyone else monitoring him?
The only people nearby are the two homeless sleeping on the streets.
Commander the foreign visitor gate. Call it a security checkpoint.
Yes, sir. Excuse me. A runner just brought up urgent orders. They're signed by the Grand Knight herself. The entire nightclub has been ordered to withdraw from Zwonek immediately and report to the Grand Knight territory.
Oh, that's bad for you, Czibor. How are you going to get out of this? There are a lot of things happening in the story. It's kind of like incredible how they managed to like condense all of this. So we have like personal stories from all of the characters, except Toland, I guess. He doesn't have any like personal motivations to be here. There is also like that Leithanien like spy coming into Casimir's. We also have this brewing conflict between Czibor and Mlynar, and it's going to happen right now here. Here we go. So this is going to be great. I wonder how they resolve the conflict. I don't believe they would just go off the grid like this. House Nerl will not simply sit around. I think so too. Their disappearance is quite curious. You know as well as I do that the trail the hunter followed to the Golden Prairie were called 3 years ago. No one's seen them since. But even if we're all thinking this, you still have to take care of old Kirill, right? I've been thinking this past few years, a lot of people have their eyes on House now. They envy my brother's honors and despise a vagabond like me. But your older brother Schnitz is the greatest general of his generation. Why, with our own eyes, we saw him. Who could deny his ability, even out of envy? Would they rather lose wars? These people feel that wars are no longer necessary, or rather, they don't want to face war anymore. That's why they're sheathing their sharpest sword and forcing me to return to the Grand Knight territory. But you can't go back. As I said, House Nerl can simply sit around. Why so excited, Czibor? And why the frown? Not sleeping well? Worried that the people we saved could be recaptured? No, I'm just thinking too much about this assassination. Assassination? Oh, I'm dreaming. Do it! I have to do that. December 1st, 2:15 AM. Outside Zwonek.
But
Send word to the sentries in sight. Do it. Everyone, get ready to move.
our orders are to stay where we are. Kawaleriyalki has everything under control.
And? Are those words enough to break a knight's spear? Have the bolts in your crossbows turned to dust? The campaign knights are the only protectors that the panicking people will see. Can this fact be changed? Or does the Adeptus Pro Real Liwi Casimirs lack the courage to muster even when the Leithanien bears its fangs? Our duty cannot be changed by a single word from the Adeptus Pro Real Liwi. Move. This is an order.
I'm sorry, sir, but you're no longer in position to give orders. The Adeptus Pro...
Okay, I'm just going to say the Adeptus, okay?
The Adeptus has revoked your command. The captains and the Craftsman Guild have already been notified. We fight for the glory of our nightclub, for the proper recognition of us campaign knights. But the Grand Knight has the authority to veto all of it.
So, you won't obey? Then I'll personally pass on my orders.
You.
The orders for Zonek has been issued. Everything shall proceed according to plan. All who ascend, with me. The captain sheathed his dark red sword and marches past the camp tents. Dozens of his highly ranked campaign knights are on duty, but they simply stand by the wayside. No one joins him or attempts to obstruct him. No one salutes. I apologize, but due to the number of recent incidents, we are now required to inspect all vehicles that leave the city via the lift platform between midnight and 6 AM. May I have your ID and documentation, please? Here. Thank you. A moment, please. And may I interest you in Zonek's specialty herb flavor stock beef jerky? Man, that is a mouthful. It is quite a popular souvenir. No, thank you. He waits impatiently, but the inspector's examinations drags on. You see Leithanien emblem, don't you? Is this really necessary? Oh? No need to worry about witnesses or public opinion at this hour. If the Spire caster nullifies the bolts, you have permission to use javelins. No need to worry about the consequences either. None of the cities will remember how the campaign knights strike. Hello, old friend. You stand in my way once again. Should I feel relief that you're still willing to act after all these years? If you're here, then I suppose there will soon be an unexplained violent incident near Zonek involving unknown parties. Bounty hunters and campaign knights. Neither should ever come anywhere near a city that marches relentlessly forward. I only came here to pick up my sword, as promised. You didn't come empty-handed, though. What about you? Your followers? You know the answer to that. The Grand Knight territory has intervened, as you hope. The loyal knights acknowledge their new orders. For honor, for chivalrous order, for their long-term interests, for the feigned glory of their campaigns. The Grand Knight territory has? Ah, it seems you didn't know. The Adeptus Kazimierz casts its eyes along bloodlines. They know all that goes on in every corner of Kazimierz. This has nothing to do with me. My apologies. It couldn't have been you. You would not have begged for help from the Adeptus and the Grand Knight. You came to convince me to turn back. But there is no way back. Know that they've learned of the plan, and the Grand Knight has issued her orders. Besides, I've raised my sword against my own men, to give the order to begin operation. Now that I know how hard it is to see the deed through to the end, it makes me admire what you did even more. Who do you think you are to compare what you're doing to what I did? I suppose I didn't provoke as many people as you. You're not provoking anyone. You're just contemptible. If you're not ashamed of your own actions, then why did you go to the convoluted lengths of leaking intelligence to pit me against a delegation from Leithanien? No need to criticize my means. I'm simply as disappointed with you as I am with Kazimierz. Oh, right. The Adeptus does not permit negative news about campaign knights to exist in writing. If I really did follow the order to stand down, what do you think would happen to me? Would I die of mysterious illness on my way back to the Grand Knight territory? Or be forever imprisoned beneath the tower, just like you? You're in no position to talk about my life, Czibor. If you insist on trying to decide from millions of people where the battlefield should lie, then you deserve your punishment. It is a campaign knight's duty to fight for the common folk. The unarmed are the first to be abandoned in war. You should have made a smarter choice. Even if it didn't involve returning to the campaign knights. I should have?
I should have ran from Casimir's? Then why have you stayed, if you truly believe leaving was the only correct choice? Or should I have abandoned the plan in its entirety, even if this is my last chance? You know better than I do that Casimir's need true violence. It needs a war that will turn it on its head. No. I've never once thought that way. Is that so? All these years, we thought we knew each other so well. Well enough to leave certain things unsaid. Now, I'm beginning to wonder just how much of that was all a misunderstanding. We should have sat down to talk, like the old days, before a campfire in the forest clearing. If you weren't set on standing in my way right now, I'd have picked a branch and made a spear out of it, just like back then. You need to wake up. Stay down, sir. There are archers nearby. Who are they? First last night and now this? Who could be after me? This is no checkpoint, Alicia. We must go. Inspector, I suggest you get out of my way if you don't want to be run over. Now, don't be hasty. Our guys have taken out the ones in your way. I suggest you relax and refrain from using Originium arts. There are some traps here that are triggered by energy, and I doubt you'd enjoy the trip back to Leithanien if anything happened to your car. When did you... No. Sir! Oh, sorry. To put it simply, we would like this gentleman to come with us. May we have your cooperation? Serious advice. We're all screwed if the trap blows up. You're good, but not good enough to deal with everyone here. Can't hurt to hear me out, can it? There's nothing for us to discuss, mercenary. Oh? Are you really thinking about setting it off, just to give your master a chance to escape? That's why I never like you Spirecasters. Nut jobs. Chill out. This isn't worth any of our lives. The inspector isn't one of ours. Neither are the ambushing archers. Go on. In the mood to listen now. Multiple groups fighting over the same objective is a fact of life in this line of work. Some people want to keep things safe, others want to watch it all burn. Think about it carefully. There is a little village by the road to the southeast, about 30 minutes from here. On the highest building in the village is a shield emblem that looks like it could fall off at any moment. It'd make our job much easier if you waited there. Such a familiar light. The real Nero. I've read the legends of Kirill, seen the Radiant Knight's name on banners in the streets, heard of your brother's blinding light from your own mouth. But this is the only Nero I know. It's just like in that bank at a betrayal. I thought I'd open the door to see the ground covered in blood, only to find myself bathing in a rain of light. That was many years ago. Indeed, being praised for an old deed is in itself a tragedy. What have you been doing all these years? Your sword is still sharp, your light even more disciplined. But there is enough power in your blade to parry even the weight of a heavy lance. Why do you ask when you already know the answer? Because I don't believe you're powerless. I don't believe you couldn't have testified to Celia's innocence when she was being tried before the National Council. It would have taken a mere word. I don't believe that she would simply vanish without a trace without you so much as casting a glance at her. There are many things that I feel powerless about. I didn't think they could trap you. There was no point in testifying to her innocence. None of us could have saved her. The old you would never have said that. You would have pushed to have the justice you saw missing from the National Council codified into law. There were too many forces involved. 13 people were convicted. One law would not have brought them justice. So you measured their injustice against your life and decided it was worth the risk. Have you become afraid of death? Or have you simply decided that nothing is worth risking your life for anymore?
The campaign knight's blows fall hard. His lance was intended to pierce armor and shields, creations of stone and steel. But now, he aims his pent-up fury at an unseen foe. You're losing your balance, Czibor. Don't make elementary mistakes. One more, and it'll be more than your armor that cracks. Ha! We haven't spared in ages, have we? Maybe I'm fiercer than you remember. And what about you? You never considered sheathing your sword when we tried to persuade you. Another charge. The lance smashed against the ground, sending gravel flying with Originium art sparks. Nice dodge. You didn't care what disgraced nobles and black belt merchants thought. You didn't care about warnings from on high or whether it was all for naught. You would have exiled yourself from the Grey Knight territory forever, gone out in a blaze of glory for justice. What about now? If you can't do it, then stand aside and watch. I'll do what you should have. Who are you to judge what I should do? Neryl's sword looks like it's simply shaking off the rain. Scorching golden light falls upon the campaign knight's armor, leaving behind burn marks. You, who throw his life away so callously and refuse to turn back despite knowing that there is no hope. I don't want you to die here. Your plan should not and will not succeed. What are you so obsessed with? Hey, you're awake. Sorry, I was hired to cause you a bit of trouble. By the way, we're on a pharmaceutical delivery truck, and the windshield was broken by a stray bolt. It took quite a bit of effort to get you here. Fortunately, we can take a breather now that we're in an underground transport tunnels. This place is most chaotic in the early hours of morning. Outsourcing, irregular transactions, vehicle turnover, accidentally. What do you want? Where's Alicia? Your bodyguard? She should be waiting outside the city, if she cooperates. I needed her to create a distraction. Don't worry, no archer is going to be a problem for a casters of her skills. As for us, well, we're here to help, I guess. But we're not exactly doing this pro bono. And the client is a bit of a penny pincher, if you catch my drift. So, we got a few wounded, and I think we ought to disguise your ransom, to cover the medical expenses, so to speak. Now, will you be so kind to put away your wand? I've always found casters from Leithanien to be a headache. Very well, I will pay reasonable ransom. I will ask no questions, and I want a time to track you down afterwards. We shall negotiate like civilized people. Excellent. I'm just doing my job. Once this truck gets the goods to the destination, it'll only be a short wait before we get out. I hear empty crates. Oh, I'm not suggesting that you're the goods. The truck was rented, and the permit borrowed. Gotta put up appearances after all. Plus, in the event that something happens to your bodyguard, this cross-border business permit will give us a reason to drop you off outside Casimir's. Who do you... Never mind. I don't want to know. Good. Now how about we talk money to pass the time? You ask what I'm obsessed with? This society has clear-cut rules. When the price of everything in life is clearly marked and labeled, it doesn't take a calculator to make the optimum decision. But why are we not allowed to choose less wisely? I know the Adeptus Casimir has invited you, as they invited every Neryl. Not to mention the businessmen who would have every last night humiliated in the arena. You could have had great power, great prestige, great wealth. You could have saved so many people. But you didn't. You're a stubborn one too. Why are you trying to persuade me? I returned to the ranks of the campaign knights, to the path of vassalage, in order to seek those who walk the same path. Do not misunderstand, mlynar. It is not war that I seek. War is inevitable, and the knights must carry that burden. Many have never seen the shadow beneath Leithanien spire, never heard the wailing in the northern wind, which is why they can cheer for the blood spilled in the arena. But I bear no grudge against them. Chivalry may shine among the campaign knights, but it does not come from the gilt of a sword. It is not authority through violence that I want to show people, nor the bones and smoldering ruins spread across the barren lands. What I want is to show them that one does not have to trample upon other lives, that one can also choose to sacrifice oneself for others. That's what a knight sheds their blood for.
The honor of a knight needs no testimony. How can you claim to uphold chivalry when you have given up the ground on which you stand and left your fate to a war you have no control over? Can you continue to shed tears and feel sorrow for the dead who line your path? A drop of rain falls upon the tip of the spear. The forest night fog glows, as though the dawn has come early in the drizzle.
Finally, you're not holding back your originum arts. I'm in full gear, while you're not even wearing basic armor. Is this really a fair duel?
What armor can bear the full brunt of a campaign knight's blow, especially one from you?
Yes, it's perfect.
Wait, you're... Hey, good eyes. Some nobles didn't even realize until 2 months into our partnership. Others realized it immediately, but kept their mouths shut as though they didn't know anything. Sarkas mercenaries. Has the business machine of Casimir's taken in your ilk too? You flatter us. It's no skin off my nose whether you think we are, but there are more than just Sarkas hiding here. Casimir's treat us all equally, when it's deciding who to throw away. Spook? The only thing unusual about the Sarkas is that we live a bit longer than the average Casimirians, and I'm still pretty young. Although, it's true that I have fewer and fewer old friends by the year. Silver shards litter the ground in the falling rain. The broken armor cannot keep the blood inside. It's over.
No. Who do you want me to admit defeat to?
The campaign knight grabs its lance again and lunges forward. But his legs do not move.
Who do you want me to admit defeat to?
The knight stumbles and falls to his knees as the golden light rains down on his cheeks. He raises his head and gazes at Nell, his eyes wide open in the rain.
To the nobles in the high tower of the Adeptus who spend their days in intrigue and faint glory? Or to the merchants who cover up their dark deeds with false mirth and disguise their twisted greed with untrived jest? Do you want me to admit that I can never win against the tyranny of bloodlines? Or do you want me to flee Casimir's, abandon the struggle, and bow down to all that we despised? I never saw another path worth taking. You still won't admit the only possibility, will you? Then prove it with your sword. If it's you who thinks I'm wrong, then I'll accept it. I didn't lose the power, the money, the will to survive, or to an inexorable time.
No. Mlynar sheathes his sword. The rain of light continues to fall from the cold night sky before dawn. Like I said, you don't need to die here. If we turn back, it would stop, he thought.
How do you live with that, Mlynar?
Even though your fury burns so much fiercer than mine. Even though you've seen the same things I have. Don't tell me you don't see it. The GCC meddles with the campaign knights at will. More and more knights sell their honor and their swords to those merchants, fueling their increased ambition. As for Leithanien, much time has passed since the fall of the Witch King's Spire. I have seen with my own eyes the war preparations. There is no romanticism in it, only terror. And there will always be those who roam the barren lands, made pariah by catastrophe, war, and the evolution of the cities. You know all this, so why? Why do you not draw your sword?
His vision blurs, and I cannot see Mlynar's expression, only that he is still gazing down on him. Why do you hesitate? What are you thinking? He finds no answers in the rain, only golden starlight melting in his field of vision. Every breath he takes is a struggle, as his life flows out along his gold armor. And that scornful sneer from up high, which awaits all who patiently pursue their ideals. Not the numb spectators who snigger as I weep for the victims. I feel equal sorrow from them, as I do for the dead. It's the ones who are even now sneering at my futile efforts against them. Even if I bang my head so hard against this wall that my bones shatter into dust, there would be no echo. The rain does not stop. His eyes remain wide. He recalls the summer downpour, the muddy forest ground, the ring of wildflowers flowing on the stream. He remembers the last good dream he had in those times. You should not be so silent, Nerl, he thought. Just like then, you must return to the Granite territory after a long and futile journey. I don't believe you can let it go, Mlynar. Their two names were erased just as they shine the brightest, like a fire thrown into a deep pool, going out without a trace. For 15 years, the Adeptus has remained silent. Their questions have gone unanswered. House Nerl, bright as they are, was rejected by Casimirs. The nation has sunken into darkness and will not abide even a single ray of light. That's why you became disillusioned. You don't know how many years they've waited in foreign lands. What did you say? Ha! I encountered them a few years ago, when infiltrating Leithanien. Rip. Single drop of ink stained the last letter from home. He never had the chance to send a letter asking the question that he harbored for 20 years. After 20 years of silence, he knows this is the only thing he can ask the campaign knight. Did you tell anyone else about this? Czibor shakes his head. Mlynar waits in long silence for the next rebuke, and even longer for a word of repentance. But the only response is a long exhalation, like a sigh, followed by a soft sound of clanging metal. The campaign knight's body leans towards his lance that pierces the earth. It is like one of the countless suits of empty armor they have seen on the Barrenlands. After a moment, Mlynar kneels in the rain, making a gesture of mourning for his former comrade. Wow. Once again, I kinda wish that they put like more CGs and like maybe like some little animations for like the event, but well, so yeah, Czibor basically like just like the other Nerls, he is like fed up with like the weird politicking that happens in Kazimierz. I think they all kind of yearns to be like the actual knight, like the ideals of being a knight, right? Not just being played like pawns in this like grand political scheme in Kazimierz. But his methods were like wrong. He thought that by instigating like a war between like these two nations, it could somehow like forces those in power to like change their ways somewhat and makes like life a little bit better for the people on the bottom. And maybe they will bring the knights back into like their former glory, but that's not how it works, Czibor. And I think those two dialogues about like the two people who went missing, I think those refer to like Nerl's family, right? I mean like Margaret and Maria's father and mother who were like went missing, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong here, because again, I'm just like a new player who played this event, which apparently was supposed to be like the latest event in this entire long side stories that Arknights have. This is even like after Maria Nerl's like side story, so like very long. But this is what I can gather from this event. If I'm right, then this event is written in such a way that the new player who doesn't even like understand the entire plot so far can actually follow in and invest themselves into like this entire story. So I guess since Margaret doesn't actually like jump into the story yet, so this is going to be an epilogue, right? Arson, how come this place feels so darn quiet lately? You think? Maybe it only feels that way because we have one less person to talk to, now that Maria's no longer around. Now that you mention it, I guess that might be it. I mean, at her age, she should really go out and see the world. It's just, who knows when she'll remember to come home for a visit. You better get everything in your workshop in order then, old bones. When she finally come back, you should have handed her the keys. Ah, it's been a while, my favorite customer. Ah, there she is. Good afternoon, everybody. Looks like the Radiant Knight can finally catch a breather. Everything is starting to move in the right direction, and I've been used to handling the desk work. I've been saying this for some time now, but don't try to take on everything. Now that Zofia and Maria aren't around, how are you supposed to deal with all this? Yeah, thanks for worrying about me. It's true that there is much I can handle. All I can do is deal with what I can. Perhaps it's because I've been away from Kazimierz for too long. Or perhaps I just never knew much about the city's rule in the first place. And now that I must live with these rules for the foreseeable future, I finally realize how little I understood. Sometimes, I even think that, from what I remembered of my time in Kazimierz before my exile, all I ever did was take Grandfather's hand, follow him, and watch the scenery from the safe road. If I may ask once again, what happened during the years I was away? Ah, what a coincidence. Fancy running into you again here, Sir Mlynar. You commissioned the bounty hunters and disappeared just as quickly. That kind of behavior gets you blacklisted, you know. You need something? Me? I'm just here to take a look at the village. After all, the villagers did send us a message asking for help. The construction team was supposed to start work today, but now that Gale Industries is under investigation, the land sale has been called off. Or so I hear. I do read the papers. Oh, then I'm sure you've also read the investigation dragging in quite a number of other companies and old noble families. The National Council even dug up a certain old case from a few years ago, all thanks to this. The one who took the blame back then are long gone, and not a lot of people still remember how it all went down. But I'm sure you do. They're no longer around. Is there really a point in celebrating this? I suppose you're right. I'm sure our good noble knight wouldn't consider those men even worth taking revenge on. As for us lowly bounty hunters, all we did is help pass the evidence from one pair of hands to another. Nothing worth paying any mind to. But now that everything's been taken care of and the dust has settled, We go pretty far back, right? I think I've earned the right to ask a few questions. If it's about Czibor, I have nothing to say. Right. I think we both need some time to ourselves. We still need to mull this over? I shan't bother you. But I'm sure you know how I managed to find you. All I'm saying is, I have nothing to say. If you're really that curious, he was an unwavering man who rambled on about his impossible ideals for knighthood, right to the very end. And if you think this deserves mourning, suit yourself. Ha! From the sounds of it, that was quite a cruel final conversation. But since you brought it up, I suppose it's not so bad to talk about it a little. I remember there was this one time I ran into that self-taught medic of ours. He was a heavily injured comrade of his, lying on the ground, so he picked up a weapon and sent his friend on his way. I have no idea what they talk about. All I could see was that he was covered in blood and looked pretty uncomfortable. He must have been depressed, or so I thought. But do you know what he said after that? He told me the blood was too hot. It might actually be a pretty nice way to go, thinking everything's looking hopeful and that your ideals are about to come true. Alas, if at the very end you're still only talking ideals, you probably aren't dying with your mind at ease. You could still probably make everyone else feel burned though. Burn? Giving the biased ideals who choose his depression and anger? I have no sympathy for a tragic end. His doubts don't even compare to everything I've pondered over the years. If you wanted to find out what drove him to such extremes, be it pain or ambition, then I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. Really? What a shame. Surely you've seen enough men stray into the wrong path. A few years back, we had a small skirmish with another band of hunters in this area. He lent us a helping hand. Or rather, he chased away both sides. A campaign knight who'd choose to go on a patrol all over the place on his own. Quite interesting, wouldn't you agree? At the very least, I'd say he was a stronger man than a certain noble scion who was working on an office job in the Grand Knight territory. This isn't the time for your jokes, Stolen. Ha! Don't be so serious. I even heard that, after this whole conspiracy was exposed, some of the infected workmen were given protection in secret, sparing them from becoming needless sacrifice in the political struggle's aftermath. And well, I found you through them. What do you think now, mlynar? It's been years. A knight should not remain forever in doubt. He should have an answer he firmly believes in. I've never had an answer. Kazimierz does not need an answer from me either. I'm an ordinary man, nothing more. Why ask me? Then perhaps you should think about doing something other than hauling yourself up into Grand Knight territory again. You can't keep blaming yourself for his death, much less go this far to atone for it. Excuse me, are you two tourists? Our beer is known far and wide, so would each of you like to try a pint? You may, of course, drink outside if you like. No, thanks. Weather's getting cold. Too bad. I only turned her down because how dreary drinking by myself would be. Otherwise, I could really use some booze to lighten things up. If only Czibor had behaved himself for just a couple more days. We could have had a blast at our reunion party. That way, you could have kept a clear head and stay out of it. No one would have blamed you for it. I never said I'd stand aside and do nothing. However, I was the one who refuted his ideals. I listened to him until the very end, and I killed him. But I respected his life nonetheless. If only for his final question and nothing more, I must find an answer. I visited grandfather's grave this morning. I thought about a lot of things as I stood there. My regrets about the past, and for certain things in the present. I really wish I could still talk to him, telling him about all this, seek his advice, but all I could do was say my farewells after such a long absence. It hadn't sunk in after I finished all my work last night and set down my pen. It truly isn't with us anymore. I didn't have to keep my voice down so as not to disturb him.
Gah, don't blame yourself, Margaret. We all know you couldn't have made it back, nor should you have.
Nonetheless, I still feel terrible for not being able to stay by my grandfather's side or to hear his final wishes. Maria told me he sent a message from me from his deathbed.
Ah, now that you mention it, yeah. But Carol seems happier when the messenger told him she couldn't reach you. After all, if a messenger can find you, then an assassin sure as hell can't. He told us himself he'd rather the children of the Nell family grow up elsewhere, instead of Casimir's as it is now. At the very least, I'm sure he'd be more than satisfied if he could see you now.
Thanks. So, how was the family after grandfather passed away?
Not gonna lie, some folks still have it out for the Nerls. Even the messenger he sent after you got shot by an arrow not long after she got back. She had to hide out here for a while. Just a bunch of cowards who only got in the balls to ambush a messenger. If someone really dared to pick a fight with the Nerls, we wouldn't just sit on the sidelines and watch.
I see. I should have realized sooner that this sort of thing could happen. Only grandfather's reputation was shielding us from these attacks, tougher than otherwise. Actually, I was frightened too, not too long ago.
Who got the balls to pick a fight with you?
Oh no, not me directly. A friend that I had recently met on a welfare van was injured. Only found out afterwards. Apparently, my speech offended some members of the GCC. There's an anonymous letter warning me to be more careful about what I say. But I understand that this didn't happen because of a single speech, or turn of phrase. It's more likely that they simply used that as an excuse. Perhaps such attack will happen again and again until I'm made to cower up and stop being a thorn in their side. Of course, I don't plan to let that happen. I will keep fighting and do everything in my power to protect others. I just thought you should know. It's just like the major. It's only thanks to the support of my friends that I could finish the competition.
Why mention it? Can we at least help the Nerls out in time of need? Besides, not even a single one of the folk came looking for trouble and knew how to fight if their lives depended on it. Don't forget to come to us for help just because you're too busy with work.
Thanks for always being there for us, everyone.
Our little Margaret is starting to act more and more like a real Knight Primus.
No, I've only just gotten back to Casimir's. There are still so many responsibilities on my shoulder, but don't fully understand. Right, Margaret, you rode silent liaison with Casimir's. They take care of quite a few infected, don't they? Are the infected and medical personnel there part of those responsibilities too? Oh, there's nothing to worry about on that end. Rhodes Island has attempted aid in places where their status is even more complicated than it is here. They know how to navigate these social pitfalls much better than me. That said, there are quite a lot of infected who don't want to go through with the treatment, and that's actually our biggest problem.
Because of money?
Right. The emergency treatment that they provide is only temporary. To continue to suppress the Oripath's growth, you have to keep buying medicine in the long term. The way Casimir's is now, there's no path for the infected other than becoming a knight. Some will never be able to afford the cost of ongoing treatment. There are also many who think Rhodes Island is just trying to squeeze money off them. After all, it is an incurable disease. Sorry for rambling. I always get carried away whenever I talk about the infected.
Well, you got no one to find at home. If you need someone to talk to, you could do worse than us. Besides, hearing you worry about all that stuff really brings it home that you're an adult now.
Master Kowal, you remember my parents' portrait we have at the hall and home? The one from their younger years. I only noticed this just yesterday, but I look almost the same age now as they do in that painting.
Well, when you put it that way, time sure has flown by.
Right, I feel the same, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to stop by today. I remember back when my parents had just left. I had just learned to read well enough to take in a whole novel. Back then, looking at the illustrations in those night legends, I always thought the female leads were drawn based on mother. But what kind of knights were they anyway? When they left, I wasn't even old enough to seriously spar with father in the training grounds. And once, during a duel, Uncle Liam told me I resembled my father. That punk Schnitz, huh? Back when I was still a campaign knight, I never seen a young man better suited for the word talented. Even setting aside being Kirill's oldest son, he was unstoppable. Legends about him were already spreading like wildfire when he was still a squire. Sorry, I have a phone call. Negotiate which occasion call for deployment of infected diagnosis technology? Very well, I'll pass it on and make the preparations. Sounds like the Radiant Knight is busy. I'm sorry, I was hoping to stay a little longer. Go on now. Us old folks aren't going anywhere. I'm still thinking about the Knurls. It's been a while since anyone's mentioned Snitz. It's too bad. He could have gone down in Casimir's history as a hero like his father. Hell, he should have. Right. I just never thought a bright light like his would turn out to be a brave spark on the battlefield. Remember how we were launching a counterattack on the fortress at the easternmost point of the battlefront? And there was a squad that cut off the Ursa's first wave of reinforcements? Ah, how could I forget? Back then, I really thought the two of them would stand side by side on the battlefield as leaders of the campaign knights in only a few more years. I remember was planning on sticking around until both the Knurl young'uns have made a name for themselves. Who would have thought that by the time we finally left the battlefield, there wouldn't be any Knurls in the campaign knights. And that punk mlynar left of his own volition. Well, it's not like he led a real nightclub. Knits want to include them in the operation, but the other nightclubs pushed back, and mlynar didn't want his friends bullied. How could a bunch of refugees who simply want to break through the fortress and return to their homelands possibly compare to us knights? Speaking of, where did that punk run off to? I should have asked Margaret just now. If she didn't bring it up, he probably hasn't ridden back yet. He used to leave homes for months or years at a time, didn't he? Don't worry about him. Margaret's here to take care of the family. Things will get better. Slowly, but surely. I want to ask what you two talk about in the end. You made your decision. But if you told me that there's no longer a place for knights in Casimirs, I suppose I wouldn't disagree. The vast majority of folks prefer the performers in the arenas, who can help them forget their hardships, over a knight who can actually shatter their suffering. I mean, they don't actually want to see life shattered. It's a waste of time and effort. Besides, putting up a struggle till the very end rarely ends well. He understood that, no doubt. I'm sure he did. And both of us have known that for a long time now too. He simply chose to bang his head on the past, straight on. Well, we said give us some peace and quiet to think on things. Not that either of us will ever have peace again. A foul beast cries out. It is a unique cry, one that can only be heard before the coming of winter. On hearing it, one thinks back to years past, to the fresh snow they tread upon and the frost on their weapons. Though it was but a single snowflake silently falling into the abyss, they heard the long roaring echo of the winter's northern winds. That said, sometimes I think, hey, even a good-for-nothing like me can do some good and rescue folks. So, who exactly are this vast majority of folks we're blaming here? When you look at it that way, maybe it's not all that disgraceful to be just an ordinary person. Besides, he returned the sword to you. There's no place for such a sharp weapon in today's Casimirs. You needn't have gone through the trouble. Returning to their small huts in the corner of the village, the repatriated infected quietly walk past two neighbors who are discussing how to work together to collect the resources they need to make it through the winter. Both the white haze of their breaths and the smoke from their kitchens slowly dissipate in the breeze. They will never again wonder where they would spend the winter should the construction team arrive. Speaking of which, Anna Silvestris asked me to pass on this letter of invitation to you. From Rhodes Island? They may be a foreign company, but you're already pretty familiar with them, aren't you? I know you aren't too interested in their particular business, but you should keep the letter. They actually helped us out a little when we pulled our little kidnapping stunt. The business permit I got from them definitely came in handy. Not to mention the combat support from the young Pinus girls. I really owe them a huge favor. Now, well, you know I'd love for you to join me. Alas, I get this impression you haven't changed your mind. So, I might as well repay that favor now. Besides, my guess is that their doctor must have told you something about your brother and his wife. Maybe a message from the Grand Knight? Perhaps Rose's intention was to drop Margaret a hint, and at the end of our favorite negotiator chose to pass the word on to you. Even when speculating, you should know there are lines you shouldn't cross. Ha! Let me have my fun! So, you plan to keep on looking? Even though there hasn't been any news from them whatsoever? I have no reason to abandon hope. Even if that hope is baseless, it's more than enough. I was in the Grand Knight territory for 10 years, and all the hope I had those 10 long years does not even compare to this hope. Rather, only someone extremely childish would be satisfied with their life, this era, and themselves. Well, ain't that the truth? Speaking of which, somehow, I doubt you've written to Margaret lately. Do I need to? She's more than capable of taking responsibility for the trouble she invites. But what if the problems she runs into are the ones you've dealt with before? Shouldn't you step up as her guardian? You should be following her own path, not mine. So, where will you go now? Excuse me, sir. Would you happen to know where Zonek is at the moment? Is this the right way? You don't know? I see. I guess I'll keep driving and find out. I don't want to sit in the car anymore! We're almost there, sweetie. Just sit tight a while longer. Daddy will get you a piccolo, okay? You can buy handcrafted Leithanien instruments anywhere else. He remembers practically every road there is, but not one of them points at the city that's always in motion, moving ever forward. All roads have their destinations set in stone. What he seeks lies beyond any road. If a man is but a lost wanderer, what does it matter where he is or where he's heading?